We're getting into that time of year where we're going to be tracking two major features here in the Digital Weather Center over at News 6. The first and foremost, it's May 27th, so we're knocking right on the doorstep of the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season. But there's also a phenomena that we track alongside looking for areas of interest that may try to spark a tropical system or two. And that's going to be the Saharan air layer, the Saharan dust that we continuously see throughout this time of year across the Atlantic basin that can sometimes make its way off the African coast as far west as us here in Central Florida and even further west from there, depending on what factors are steering that bad boy as it comes across the Atlantic to its entirety. You can see, taking a look at our most recent update from the models across the Atlantic, we've already got two fairly substantial plumes out there, one of which is currently working through the Lesser Antilles into the eastern and central Caribbean Sea. Another much larger plume at that is just now exiting off the West African coast, working its way into the main development region of the Atlantic. And the reason we call that the main development region as well, alongside the dust, that's where a majority of our tropical cyclones will typically originate during the months of August, September, and October. Unless, of course, you're 2024, where pretty much all bets are off. You'll get Cat 5s in June and then nothing during the peak of the hurricane season. Hopefully, that's not the case this year, but as I take you out through time, notice as we traverse the weekend here coming up, some of that Saharan dust, the leading edge of it, is going to ride the western border of our Bermuda Azores high across the central Atlantic and work its way into our neck of the woods, not only through the weekend, but into the following next week. The first couple days of June, you can see as we go 7 days into the future, almost exactly to the hour itself, Tuesday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be sitting beneath a shroud of that Saharan dust. So unfortunately, if you have any respiratory struggles or you work outdoors for extended periods of time, this might add a little bit of insult to injury if you are outside on a recurring basis, or if you are asthmatic or battle with COPD. This could also add a little bit of salt into the wound, metaphorically speaking. So what drives the Saharan dust? Let's take a look. There's a couple of different factors I'm happy to break down for you. I made this explainer graphic. You first off have that Atlantic high pressure, the Bermuda Azores high. We're going to be talking a lot about that during the hurricane season. You also have something called the African easterly jet. It's very similar to the jet stream we track in the mid-latitudes over the United States that drive our cold fronts, our low pressure systems, our winter storms during the winter time, you name it. It's the same type of phenomena. And then last but not least, not pictured here, we have something called the WHAM. I just like to say the WHAM, but that is the West African monsoon. And just like during our afternoon sea breezes here in Central Florida, when those thunderstorms rain down on top of you, you get those gusty winds. Those are called downdraft winds. You get little cool pools. Notice that the air tends to get a little cooler after it rains down on top of you. As those strong gusty winds move around the surface of North Africa, naturally you get strong winds blowing in that dusty region of the world. It's going to pick up a lot of dust. You combine that as it lifts off the ground with that easterly jet in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. It moves westward, gets caught up in the rotation around that Atlantic high pressure, and depending on how strong it is, it can move as far west as Central Florida, the southeast, even sometimes making it all the way out to Texas and northern Mexico if we have a dominating high pressure out there, and a bit of an extension of that ridging into Florida and the eastern Gulf. So here's your Saharan dust outlook through the next 7 days. For now, we're doing okay. It hasn't quite reached us just yet. During the weekend, we'll see the initial onset of that. And then by next week, we're rocking in the midst of that dusty air as it comes across the Caribbean, into the Gulf, and then through our neighborhood, all thanks to the western side of that Atlantic high pressure rotating in clockwise fashion over the central subtropical Atlantic. But on side, or I should say outside of the bad news, no dust, you get that bright sun, more yellow in color in terms of your sunrises and sunsets, but the dust tends to make things a bit more photogenic, we'll say, despite some of the negative repercussions it has floating around our air here in the Orlando area or anywhere in the Florida Peninsula for that matter. So if you are a photographer or videographer out there, perhaps you can take advantage as we go over the next 2 weeks or so. We have some of that Saharan dust in the air. May as well turn a negative into a positive, however you want to spin it, just to keep that glass half full perspective versus a glass half empty, especially as we wander into the hurricane season together.